Howdy.
YouTube. It's your boy, Memetic Theory.
Top 10 memes of the decade.
Number 10 is Pokemon Go. No, don't go. So, there's a reason, there's a method to the madness. If you want to see the method, check the previous video, and that's what I'm going to go through and how I look at memes. But stay here, give me a second. And so, though a thick as fuck Clefairy caused me a relapse in my hentai addiction, I want to tell you why this meme clocks in at number 10. But before we begin, I just wanted to give a quick second and elaborate a little bit more on the point system and how I'm going to be evaluating the videos. So everything I'm going to be giving a 7-point scale, so from 0 to 6. And the reason why I do this is I've spent some time in a neuroscience lab and did a bunch of research, and without going too much into detail, humans, we like to break stuff down into 7 segments, whether we realize that or not, because you get a very low score with a 0 and a very high score with a 6. Like that's like, oh, horrible. And like top tier, then we have a middle, that's 3. No, good, slightly above average, 4. Really good, but like, it's not quite top tier as 5. And then same in the flip side, you have 2, which is like, not really my thing. And then 1 was like, it wasn't that good. Definitely, obviously 0 being, that was trash. The values are a little less arbitrary and a little bit more thought put into them than on a 0 to 10. All right, now let's dive in. So I think I want to start things off with variety. I think I want to start things off with
Versatility.
because that will let us explore sort of the different directions this meme is taken in, what it built off, places it sort of ended up going, and why I think it fits as a meme. So first, most of the memes fell into a few different categories, some being more prevalent than others, but one of the most common ones is Pokemon be put in funny, weird places.
Ketchup stains around his body and down McDonald's light. His face is on the screenshot, but as hot as in disguise. I didn't even mean to catch him. He just popped up by my fries. Switched over to a great ball, touched the ball and curved the swipe. The ball wriggled on the floor. I just stardust in my eyes, but a ketchup covered kid put my arm right into the slide. My phone fell down, no case tank, got 5 seconds to survive. And I saw Wi-Fi was off, Coke all on my shirt.
And then that actually spawned a whole new series of memes, is all the crazy things that people would do to go try to catch rare Pokemon. And there's tons and tons of memes citing the crazy things that people would do. So part of this trend of people being found in increasingly outlandish situations was the fact news stories perpetuating the meme and the things that would happen, such as people getting robbed, people trespassing, even some people got shot at. Plenty of people hit by cars, police put out notifications, billboards. It also made the game way easier to hate on because a lot of single individuals did stupid shit that gave the rest smart adults and kids bad name who like to play the game. Another branch of this was all the people ways to, cheat. Like, honestly, there was like most of it just like a train or on a bike or, toy train, stuff like that. There's a couple memes, not really a deep branch of stuff. Probably the most common form of meme, I think the least quality aspect of the meme was just using other memes and internet content to relate to things that you'd be found doing in Pokemon Go, whether chasing a Pokemon, staring at your phone. Unfortunately, there weren't a ton of memes that built off existing internet humor, but I was able to find a few, and I thought these were pretty decent. The issue with a lot of very mainstream, mega popular memes that branch out into whole new communities is the fact that these people and part of these communities aren't super familiar with deep internet lore and history and how we think of jokes. Since it's mainstream appeal, we weren't going to see very many alt communities take it up, and I'll get into that in a second. But I think one of the most fun edits I actually got to see personally was Dylan Francis opened his Hard Summer DJ set is that same July with a remix of the Pokemon theme song.
Catch them is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel across the world, searching far and wide. These Pokemon to understand the power that's inside.
Want some of y'all ready to get cringe?
Sorry, I feel like I just committed a cardinal sin. But Corbett says that putting the finisher at the end of the video may help engagement. So stick along for the rest of it. And you'll get to see the drop because I like to dance to music. It's gonna be a weird vibe going on right now. New brand. Anywho, Dylan Francis is known for his meme humor and having fun and jokey DJ sets. That being said, overall, there wasn't a ton of different flips and memes, and the ones that there were pretty low-hanging fruit. I really took this and ran with it and really did a bunch of high-quality edits that really spawned a bunch of memes from it. So
Versatility.
I have to give it a 2. So that brings us to uniqueness.
I am a snowflake, I am unique.
So the fact that the game played differently depending on where you are, both in the country, the world, and even in your own city, in that you could find different Pokemon in different parks, really made the universe pretty odd. But even that isn't what really made the game unique. And it wasn't just the fact that it was the first, like I mentioned, major game to use AR, though that did generate a lot of fun pictures like this. Yeah, and that one. But the thing that really made the game unique is it got people to explore their surroundings and meet each other. That was totally unique at the time. Every other game really had just people living in the virtual world. Though the game Ingress it was built on did have players explore, the thing that made Pokemon Go unique was the popularity. The fact that you could go out pretty much anywhere in a major city and see people playing. It was such an easy way to go meet someone where you already had an easy way to strike up a conversation and then maybe go make a real friendship out of it. And I think that's what a lot of people had to give Pokemon Go credit for. And I think it definitely changed, especially casual gamers and non-gamers' perception about what video games could do for people in society. However, it wasn't perfect. And one of the things that tends to happen quite often in many mainstream games and ends up being often their death is that the only way to stay competitive in the game is to put large amounts of time and money. And a lot of people just can't afford to do that. As people got busy, lost interest, it meant fewer interactions on the sidewalk, meeting fewer new people, and that started to hurt it even further. And the fact that you couldn't really compete in any of the gyms, especially if you couldn't travel to different geographic locations to go get special rare Pokemon, even in your city, or even travel to places around the country and the world to get special types of powerful Pokemon that were super effective to the local types, couldn't really compete on the same level. And it really just cut into the game and just made it no fun. And unfortunately, characteristics like this prevents it from being a super unique thing in the gaming space. If it really lasted, that would have been amazing. But I think it does set up a great blueprint for the types of games to be built in the future that can really have longer lasting positive impacts, on communities and cultures. So I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 6 in terms of uniqueness. So for popularity, first want to address the fact that Pokemon was originally and still is an anime show. And the meme community has an interesting relationship with anime, tends to make fun of them, but it was interesting to see proud animes walking the streets, with us normal folk coming out of hiding and allowed to be who they are on the inside. What do you even call like a group of animes? Like, are they a gaggle? And sell a bunch? Actually, I don't want to hate on them too much. I just had a whole bit on letting people like the stuff they like and like not hating people for not liking the stuff you like. But I think the general cringy thing is that they generally like, oh, I love Japanese culture because I love anime. And really, the two are quite different. And a lot of people just conflate and sort of appropriate and they don't really know what they're talking about. There's a lot of problematic stuff with Japanese culture. Maybe one day I'll do a video on that. I don't know. Digression. A convention. It's a convention of animes. That's what they call it. Convention. Oh, it's just a convention of animes just walked by. Oh, they're at the the fountain. Convention of anime is at the fountain. That's what we call it. As the fad started to die down, the people who tended to hang on and kept playing the game were people who were into anime. And not really surprisingly, but once there wasn't a bunch of people around playing it, 90% of its appeal was gone. So then you play it just for the specific culture of Pokemon, which, we liked it as kids, but we're adults now. Like stuff that has a little bit more like depth to it. Though it did have a lot of popularity and you got to meet a bunch of people with it, one main issue, which I was sort of hinting at before, is that both the game community and the meme community consider themselves as counterculture communities and are sort of anti-mainstream. Gaming is different and they don't perfectly overlap, especially the meme community. They tend to be anti-IRL, anti-broad scope. They like to have their niche lores and circle jerks of meme elitism, and sometimes they're fun to be part of those inside jokes. And I think sometimes people just want to feel like they're part of something special, so they make up stupid rules of what things have to be and can't be. We didn't see a lot of variety in the memes, especially a lot of memes that reference internet culture and then other high quality side projects built around these that sort of perpetuated memes and perpetuated related memes. AR memes, the technology was available, but no one really built a whole bunch of AR Pokemon Go referencing stuff. And I think part of that was because the gaming community and the meme community felt like their culture was being appropriated a bit, and there was sort of some building resentment that you had a bunch of people who hadn't really been big into internet culture and gaming culture all of a sudden felt like they were part of games, and definitely some influx of anime, and already easy to sort of resent part of that culture. And especially the fact that a lot of the memes had to do with real world everyday life stuff and not a deep internet lore and background and trends. It really made a lot of the high quality content creators on both Reddit and Instagram not really care, not want to perpetuate the fad. And I mean, part of it also too was there were some things to gripe about. Mechanics weren't great. Servers were down a lot, awkward interactions, and plus all the bad press that made Pokemon Go users look stupid gave part of it a bad rap. So I understand the hesitance to a degree to really perpetuate it. But I think a lot of it still had to do with the hesitancy to not let people into your culture. They didn't go through all the same things that you did. And so therefore they can't be part of it. And it was already perfect. And to those people say, chill the fuck out. Everyone joins new cultures, has new experiences. Even all the people in a particular subculture aren't familiar, don't have all the same life experiences and history, and don't have the same perspective of the cultures. Like trying to act like nothing or no one could be added to a culture to improve it. At best, is a toxic groupthink circle jerk waiting to happen. And at worst, it's the same mentality that white nationalism was built off of. Build a false narrative that paints the original culture as perfect, and all the newcomers is what is destroying it or adding to perceived problem. But let's be real, dude. Culture in the world has always been messy. People like to remember back in kids' days of what was good. So I don't really have patience for people like that. So I mean, as fun as it is to make fun of anime, people in anime, people like what they like. I'm not gonna shit on them for it. I think there's better things to like. But hey, whatever. Don't make you happy. I ain't gonna be shit to you. And there are actually some quality stuff on there. It's at the end of the day, it's a style of art. It's not a topic, so you can make anything a style of anime. Moral of the story: if it ain't hurting anyone, just let people try new cultures and engage with it. It will generate fresh ideas, new memes, and maybe even new friends. Communities will always continue to morph and change, and our job as leaders and moderators community is to set up the guide rails of what the basic value systems and what we want to see in the community, and let it morph and change. You just have to make sure the core principles don't run off the rails. So I know I just went on a bit of a rant and talked about some reasons why I think it wasn't so popular, but it did have a ton of users. It was the number one app on the iOS store. At the time, it was the highest downloaded app of all time, and at one point had the same number of daily users as Twitter. Though it took millennials and to some extent Gen Z by storm, people who hadn't really grown up around Pokemon at all didn't really put much time into it. You did get some adoption of Gen X and Boomers, but for the most part, it really sort of stayed to those cultures. And I think one thing that was interesting was the real life meme of instead of just sharing and morphing stuff online, you did get the IRL aspect of sharing Pokemon names, coming up with new things and riffing on each other. And really that's what memes are, just riffing off ideas. And you did get a lot of that in person. So I'm going to give this a rating of 4. Next is usefulness, which I already started to delve into a little bit in the previous section. It's the fact it really totally changed the paradigm of what games could be and how people interacted with each other that I think made this meme and this experience quite special. I think it had an overall change in the gaming landscape that casual gamers and even non-gamers had to start to recognize that games could have a positive impact on society and could even get people outside and doing things that they normally didn't do. Got people to meet face to face, or I guess corner to eye to corner of eye. But, we'll take it where we can. We saw many people just walking around a city. You could kind of tell who was playing, just be they looking down on their phones. They probably just got hit by, some sort of motorized vehicle. Fucking Darwin's parachute or airbag, I guess in this case. And that way, I think kind of was useful to society a little bit. But overall, I think most of the benefit came from what it got people to go do and imagine. There's plenty of tweets and videos talking about how actually, people are happy. I never seen more people in my public park than I did, during that month of July. And I felt like, oh, this is how society is supposed to be in one of those videos, of a utopia. That was pretty cool. And I'm really waiting for the next big creative project to do that and make it last even longer and really bring people together in a new sustained way that nothing has done since Pokemon Go. I know I'm not even really talking about memes, but part of the divisive nature is that some people loved it, some people hated it. Here's an example. Some posts online talking about how they viewed it, and it said, "Billions before us have suffered through wars and hardship to reach a state where most of us don't have to worry about basic necessities. We finally reached a state in which we have true free time due to high industrial productivity. And what are people doing with it? They play Pokemon Go and upload pictures on Instagram. I used to be an optimist, a glass half full kind of guy, but in the light of the times, only proper response is complete resignation. I have no hope." Fucking come on. Jeez, now that many people don't have to slave all day just to be able to survive, what do you expect them to do besides playing games and making art? And yeah, maybe not all the photos taken on Instagram are art, but how else do you expect people to start school? That's how people get art? Nah, it's have a hobby and oh, I like taking it. No, it's a cool picture, and they get more and more into it. Doing fun little cartoons and memes, and now look at me, a fucking theorist. Yeah. What do you want us to do? Underground dogfighting rings, or just work more, go for a walk in the park, get some exercise, fresh air, meet people? Oh wait, that's what the app does? Ugh, just as long as you're not hurting people, why the fuck do you care? It's just a fun thing, and it's actually good. Pet peeve. People are allowed to like stuff that you don't, and that's okay. That is totally fine. Anyway, thought the meme was pretty useful. A lot of the content brought around it definitely changed the memescape. Pokemon has been pretty big in the memescape, but this definitely kept things like Surprise Pikachu and Detective Pikachu inside the pop culture of the times. In terms of usefulness, this is where I think the game shined quite well, in that it totally got the internet to act in quite a different way than it had, blending it within the real physical world and the internet space. And that crossover was pretty fun and pretty interesting. You got to actively engage in both cultures at once. And in terms of usefulness, getting people to go exercise, meeting people from different cultures and classes. I met people who were just, learning English, everyone from grad students to professional athletes to people who this was their first smartphone they were ever able to afford. And it's really cool to be able to see these mingling and mixture. And so that's why I'm going to give it a 5. And we have longevity. So obviously this did burn pretty hot, pretty fast, with the majority of the content being made for a month or two, but also big memes can last for literally a couple days or hours even. Presidential alert one, that was in and out. So it did have a bit of a time span, but in terms of cementing itself in sort of an evergreen status in the community, like Blinking Guy, Big Chungus is in sort of a way an ironic evergreen status. Drake format, kind of, but there's other better formats, I think, for that now. Galaxy Brain. But there wasn't really anything that continued to go except in very niche Pokemon, anime, Pokemon Go circles. So it really didn't last for all that long. Add me on my Instagram. It's same thing, Memetic Theory, just with an underscore in it. That's where I make and post all my original meme content. And if you think I did something wrong because I missed some pop culture reference, totally missed, a layer or two of irony in something, please let me know. Throw it down in a comment, and I'll definitely get to it in a following video. Thanks again.